Everyone talks about Dolby Atmos like it's the holy grail of immersive audio. You see the logo everywhere: Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple Music, even on the side of your shiny new soundbar or the specs page of the iPhone 17. Dolby has done such a good job branding Atmos that most people think it as the ultimate in audio, the natural endgame of surround sound. But here's the truth: not all Atmos is the same. The Atmos you hear on streaming platforms is very different from the Atmos on a Blu-ray disc, and in some situations, the underdog format called DTSX might actually give you better, cleaner, more accurate sound. That's right, the lesser-known competitor still has some tricks up its sleeve in 2025, and depending on how you consume movies, music, and games, it might actually be the smarter choice. So in this narration, we're going to dig deep, cutting past the marketing hype, and break down Dolby Atmos and DTSX in detail. We'll look at how they work, where you'll find them, and which one really delivers the best experience for your money. By the end, you'll know exactly what you won't be getting when you see those logos, and whether Atmos or DTSX deserves to power your next movie night, gaming session, or music playlist. To understand why these formats exist, you have to go back to the problem surround sound was trying to solve. For decades, surround was channel-based. That means if a movie was mixed in 5.1, the audio track was divided into fixed lanes: front left, front right, center, surround left, surround right, and a subwoofer. Your receiver simply sent those signals to those speakers. It worked, but it wasn't very flexible. Imagine a jet flying overhead in a movie. In a channel-based system, that sound would be split between the front speakers and then handed off to the rears. To your ears, it moved across a flat circle. You never got the sensation of it truly flying above you because there was no height channel. It was locked to a plane around your head. This rigidity was the Achilles heel of traditional surround. Dolby and DTS both saw this problem and decided to reinvent how audio worked. Instead of channels, they introduced the idea of audio objects. Now, a sound isn't tied to left speaker or rear channel. Instead, it has metadata, coordinates in 3D space. So that same airplane isn't just panned from left to right. It's told to exist at X, Y, Z above you, and your receiver figures out how to render it using whatever speakers you have. This shift from channels to objects is what gave us modern immersive sound. Dolby called their system Atmos. DTS called theirs DTS-X. Both rely on object-based audio, but they approach it differently, and that difference is where things get interesting. Let's start with Dolby Atmos, because it's the name you've seen 1,000 times. Atmos first appeared in cinemas in 2012, and by 2015 it started trickling into home setups. Dolby had a clear strategy: saturate the market. They wanted Atmos in streaming services, music catalogs, gaming consoles, TVs, soundbars, and of course, smartphones. By 2025, they've basically won the branding war. If you've used Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, or Prime Video, you've seen the little Atmos badge. If you've opened Apple Music on an iPhone 17, you've seen spatial audio with Dolby Atmos. If you've shopped for a soundbar from Sonos, Samsung, LG, or Bose, you've been told Atmos is the key feature. Atmos has become the default word for immersive audio, in the same way Kleenex became shorthand for tissues. And that's not an accident. Dolby's genius wasn't just in creating Atmos, it was in making sure everyone supported it. But here's where you need to look closer. The Atmos you hear on streaming isn't the Atmos you think you're getting. On Netflix or Disney Plus, Atmos is delivered through Dolby Digital Plus, a lossy format capped around 640 to 768 kilobits per second. That is not bad. It is roughly CD quality in many ways, but it is heavily compressed compared to studio masters. The 3D positioning metadata is still there, so you'll hear sounds above and around you, but the raw fidelity, the micro details in the audio are stripped away to save bandwidth. It is a bit like streaming a 4K movie on Netflix versus watching the same movie on a 4K Blu-ray disc. Both look sharp, but one has far more depth, color information, and clarity. If you want Atmos in its full glory, you need Blu-ray discs encoded in Dolby TrueHD. There, Atmos rides on a lossless carrier at over 4,000 kbps, giving you bit-for-bit quality of the studio track. Unfortunately, most people never hear this. They hear the compressed version and assume that's the best audio has to offer. Now enter DTSX. Launched in 2015, DTSX never had the same mainstream push. You don't see it plastered across Netflix menus. Apple doesn't support it on the iPhone. But in the home theater enthusiast world, DTS-EX has a reputation. Why? Because it's built on DTS HD Master Audio, a lossless format. That means when you play a Blu-ray with DTS-X, you're hearing an exact copy of the studio's master. No compression, no compromises. Bitrates often climb over 4,000 kbps and sometimes much higher, giving you more headroom and detail. DTS-X also prides itself on flexibility. Unlike Atmos, which prefers you follow Dolby's approved speaker layouts, say 5.1, 2, or 7.1. 4. DTS-X is designed to adapt. If you've got an odd room with speakers in unusual places, DTS-X can remap audio objects to make it work. The idea is that you shouldn't need a perfect setup to get a convincing immersive experience. This makes it the format of choice for AV receiver manufacturers like Denon, Marantz, Yamaha, and Onkyo, who know enthusiasts want options. So Atmos wins on availability and convenience. DTS-X wins on fidelity and adaptability. But let's break it down further. Atmos supports up to 128 audio objects layered on top of a traditional channel bed. That means the foundation is still channel-based, but Atmos sprinkles objects on top. DTS-X doesn't stick to a fixed bed as strictly. It's more fluid, treating every sound as an object that can be mapped however the decoder sees fit. Think of Atmos as a very organized conductor who insists the orchestra sits in a particular arrangement, and DTS-X as a jazz leader who says, "Wherever you are, I'll make it work." Neither approach is wrong, but they produce slightly different results. When it comes to bit rates, the numbers tell the story. Streaming Atmos tops out at under 800 kbps. Blu-ray Atmos through Dolby TrueHD hits 4,000 kbps and beyond. DTS-X, riding on DTS HD Master Audio, also hits 4,000 kbps consistently, sometimes even higher. That's the equivalent of comparing a high-quality JPEG photo to a RAW file from a camera. The JPEG looks great at a glance and loads faster, but the RAW has all the data, all the subtle detail you can pull out if you have the right equipment. If you stream, you're hearing the JPEG version of Atmos. If you spin a disc with DTS and DAG, you're hearing the raw version of the soundtrack. Now, let's talk ecosystems, because this is where Dolby really pulled ahead. By 2025, Atmos is everywhere. Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Hulu. Gaming consoles like Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 support Atmos in select titles. PC games have Atmos for headphones. Mobile devices like the iPhone 17 and iPad Pro natively support Atmos playback. Hardware partners like Sonos, Samsung, LG, and Bose have made Atmos a key marketing feature. Even Apple's own AirPods Pro 3 and Beats Studio Pro advertise Atmos as part of their spatial audio package. DTS-X, by contrast, is far more niche. It shows up in high-end AV receivers, some Blu-ray discs, a handful of PC titles with DTS Headphone X, and the occasional Samsung or LG soundbar. It's a classic case of the better product being overshadowed by the more widely adopted one. Dolby went wide, DTS stayed deep. But theory is one thing, what about real-world use? Let's do some case studies. Take movies. I tested Dune, Part 2 in both formats. On Mac streaming in Atmos, the soundstage was wide, immersive, and the dialogue clear. But when the sandworm appeared, the bass lacked weight. Switch to the Blu-ray and DTS-X, and suddenly the room shook. The roar wasn't just loud, it had texture, grit, a physical presence. That's the power of lossless fidelity. With gaming, it's a different story. Atmos in Halo Infinite or Call of Duty gives you a big, immersive battlefield feel. Explosions sound grand, and you feel surrounded, but DTS Headphone X on PC offers sharper positional accuracy. In a competitive match, footsteps cut through more clearly, making it easier to locate enemies. That's not immersion, that's precision. And when it comes to music, Atmos is everywhere thanks to Apple Music and Tidal. Some mixes, like Billie Eilish's catalog, sound fresh and exciting in Atmos. Instruments float around you, creating a concert-like feel. But other Atmos mixes feel forced, spreading songs too thin. DTS-X. In music is rare, but when you find a concert disc encoded with it, the fidelity is unmatched. Every instrument is captured in pristine detail, like you're at the live performance. There is a pain point here that most people don't realize. The Atmos you hear on Netflix is not the same Atmos you hear on a disc. The The logo is the same, the promise is the same, but the quality is vastly different. One is compressed for bandwidth, the other is lossless. Most consumers never hear the difference because they never leave streaming. They don't know they're missing out, and that DTSX remains a hidden gem. If you care enough to buy discs and a proper AVR, you get uncompromised sound. So how do they stack up by category? Accessibility? Atmos wins by a landslide? It's everywhere. Sound quality on Blu-ray? DTSX takes it, consistently lossless and powerful. Streaming? Atmos again, because DTSX isn't really present. Gaming? Atmos gives you immersion, but DTSX gives you accuracy, and competitive players may prefer that. Music? Atmos wins for sheer variety, but DTSX wins in rare cases for purity. Hardware? Atmos dominates casual devices, while DTSX caters to enthusiasts with dedicated gear. Overall, in 2025, Dolby Atmos is the winner for the mainstream. It's the format you'll encounter most, and it delivers good enough immersion across all platforms. But if you're an audiophile, a home theater purist, or a gamer chasing every competitive edge, DTSX is still the secret weapon, the one that puts fidelity above convenience. Looking ahead, the future isn't just Atmos versus DTSX. Formats like MPEG H3D audio are gaining traction in broadcasting and live streaming. AI-driven adaptive sound is starting to appear in research labs, promising audio that adjusts in real time to your preferences or even your hearing profile. We may be entering an era where immersive sound is personalized, not just universal. But until then, the choice is clear. Dolby Atmos rules the mainstream, DTSX rules the high end. So now I want to hear from you. Which side are you on? Are you Atmos all the way because it's everywhere and convenient, or do you swear by the raw fidelity of DTSX? Drop your setup in the comments, whether it's a Sonos Arc in your living room or a full 7.1. 4. DTSX Theater, and I will feature the most interesting ones in a future video. If this breakdown helped you, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive audio content, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for listening, and as always, keep chasing the perfect sound.